What's the worst part of having a child? The days drag on, but the years fly by. Having to take care of a sick child when you are also sick. Having to deal with their total lack of self-preservation. I'm only 9 years in, but so far it's been the sleep deprivation. Hands down. EDA, I'm not still sleep deprived. My kids sleep great now at nearly 9 and 5. Worrying about how the outside world will treat them. When people ask me this I say, you know those video games where you have to escort a character to a destination without them being attacked? That's parenting. Watching them make the same mistakes you did even though you told them not to make those mistakes. Little Jimmy. The constant anxiety that you're doing enough to shape them to make good choices, a good life, be a good person, and for them to have the life they deserve. If they are born with severe disabilities, you will need to take care of them or make plans for their care for as long as they are alive. It's heartbreaking, many marriages don't make it. Losing them. I lost my 14-year-old daughter to suicide in 2020. It's the worst pain and you can't imagine it until you are in it. The worry that I'm a bad parent that's doing things wrong. You have to feed them like every day. It's like taking a second job that lasts 18 plus years with 24/7 schedule with no holidays or sick days. They're just always there. On you, behind you, in front of you, just a little speed bump impeding every task. Being worried 24/7. It's incessant. It never stops. You never get a day off. The loss of freedom. I can't just go somewhere. Even with older kids, there's so much planning and thinking and getting ready. For me it's giving up a part of myself that I will never get back. Don't get me wrong, I would choose to do it every time, but there is a mourn of a previous self and the sacrifice I need to do to become the best father I can be, and that can be hard sometimes. I'm divorced and the worst part of having kids is being tied to my ex forever. Transitions. From baby to toddler, to little kid, to big kid. Time passes by and with it they start growing into independent persons. A parent's love grows with them, but the feeling of knowing sooner than later they will belong to the world. And we adults possess the understanding that the world is. Your life's no longer yours. TLDR, reflections on the cost of rearing children including worrying about them. Bearing children can put a real strain on a woman's body with permanent and sometimes severe effects. Including death of the mother. I had no risk factors for problems, but had to have my uterus removed after the last one was born due to irreparable medical issues, not cancer. It's the cost of doing business and pales in comparison to worrying about your children as they grow. I've been fairly lucky in that regard. A stray bullet could easily gone into their living room. In fact, when my son got home from work and saw the crime scene tape and the like, he immediately called me to tell me he was okay on the off chance that I would have read about the shooting on the news. Another son had someone pull a gun on him while he was doing his job, entertainment field. That got my attention as well. Another son got hit by a car while he was riding his bike in a very bike-friendly city. He could well have died, but didn't. My daughter was super sick with severe morning sickness with her third baby. Many trips to the ER and some hospitalizations. I nursed her through it wishing I could take her place. Things were looking good but she ended up losing the baby at about 20 weeks. Her losing the baby caused me the most heartache of anything else I've endured with my kids. My own parents had to live through me almost dying in a childhood accident. Seriously this close to death. Another option than death would have been paralysis. I can't imagine what they went through as I lay there in the ICU with machines keeping me alive for a few weeks, followed by a few more weeks on a regular ward. I can only try to imagine their relief when I made a full recovery. Still not as bad as what some peers have endured, kids getting addicted to drugs. Some ODing. Getting into relationships with abusive and violent people. Making poor decisions like dealing drugs. One distant cousin lost his life that way. Dying from cancer or another deadly disease. Dying at the hands of a drunk driver. Making foolish choices and ending up in prison. Not a bad kid, just two crazy teenagers convincing each other that a spontaneous road trip would be fun. With shitty planning, not enough money and unreliable vehicle, convincing themselves they would pick up odd jobs along the way. My friend, his father, was sick with worry. The kid ended up straightening out, going to college, and getting a regular job. The weight gain. During the pregnancy I gained 35 pounds. My belly has stretch marks. My boobs are all saggy. Yeah, cosign on constant worry. Having a kid is like having a little piece of your heart running around in the world. When they're sick or get disappointed or just feel sad, it's worse than having it happen to you. Yet at the same time, you need to let your kids work through those things to learn to handle them. If you give in to the worry and try to shield them from everything, you risk creating harmful codependence. So it's a constant struggle. Your life is not your own anymore. Losing them. My 15-year-old son died suddenly on Tuesday morning. His dad went to wake him for school and he wasn't breathing. He had no health conditions and we don't know the cause of death yet. My baby is just gone. Every single part of parenting is a challenge. But losing a child is a pain unlike anything I've ever known. Having a child is taking a risk that someday your whole world could be shattered, and there's absolutely nothing you can do to stop it. EDA, thank you so much to everyone who has commented. Thank you all, from the bottom of my heart. The strain on your marriage/relationship. We thought we were completely prepared since our child was planned. Then you add the responsibility and stress and the takeaway sleep. Didn't sleep through the night for 9 straight months, we were at each other's throats every single day. At the beginning, planning things becomes much more complicated. Want to fly? Got a plan for stroller and car seat. Which car rental place is in the terminal so you don't have to haul all your kid's stuff on a bus. And things can get messed up just because your kid is having a bad day. You might be out at a restaurant and your kid gets mad because insert dumb thing here so you just need to pay your bill and leave, or eat in shifts with so someone can be outside with a mad toddler. Having depression and having depressed children fucking sucks. Losing him downcast face with sweat. My 6-year-old passed away from cancer 3 months ago. Haven't seen anyone mention the strain it can put on your relationship. It's immensely difficult to communicate properly when you're stressed, worried, and sleep deprived. My top thing I tell expecting parents is you no longer sleep when you see fit. Tired? Too bad, you've got responsibilities and a humans to keep alive. This worsens because not only do you wake up when they do and go to sleep after them, but you're also inclined to stay up later for doing whatever grown-up stuff you enjoy. I'm so guilty of staying up way too late to watch shows that aren't exactly kid-friendly. My wife is all into the true crime stuff, so we get the kids to bed then stay up until 1 to 2 some nights watching stuff. Guess who doesn't give a shit? The kids. I'm fortunate to function well on anything over 6 hours of sleep, her not so much. For me, I just really like to be alone sometimes. Before kids I would just go downstairs and watch a TV show, play PlayStation, or play guitar, and my wife would do her own thing as well. Now, I have maybe 1 hour of alone time, sometimes none, every couple of days. It's at 11 at night and I'm tired as fuck then and the next day. It's the hardest part for me. Predatory, hyper-competitive youth sports clubs or travel ball. Coaches prowl the sidelines of local leagues, soccer, volleyball, baseball, etc. etc. And tell parents of kids that are okay at the sport, but not necessarily great at it. They tell them how much potential they see in their kids and that they could, with the right environment and coaching, become great. Maybe even Division I scholarship players, or professionals. The thing is, they know that really, only 1 or 2 of these kids has a shot, but they need teammates, they need other teams to play against, and most of all, they need people willing to pay full freight so that the really talented ones get to play for free. They also need to feed the travel tournament machine. Teams need to go to one place, usually far away from a major city, where land is cheap and fields can be built, and play 3 to 6 games in a weekend, collecting a tournament fee too. Local hotels get in on the action, jacking up prices during tournament weekends. And it's all bullshit for the most part. Only, literally, the best player in the entire city will even get a shot at it, maybe a few more if you're in a major city. I'm a seasoned vet at this point, my youngest is 18 and my oldest is about to have our first grandkid. Yes, you worry, but it won't change anything. Just minimize risks where you can and hope you've given them the tools to lead good lives. Not having a life for yourself. You aren't going anywhere for a while without some planning. Whether planning to have them with you and what that looks like, to planning on leaving them with someone for a week where you will wait for it. Worry. Spontaneity, I didn't know her. Not being listened to. I assumed, wrongly, that when they were grown I could just tell them my experience and they'd be glad to take my advice and not cause themselves hurt, emotionally or otherwise. That was wishful thinking. Mess and money are obvious answers, but things can be cleaned and money can be made. Watching your kid figure out life, from small things to large, is awesome. My kids are my favorite people ever, and not one of them has listened to me. Currently both parents being sick after we caught it from our child who is all better now and wants to play. Watching them stray down the wrong path. Besides all the other things mentioned, having your internal organs rearranged. How much you sacrifice. Kids take everything you've got and then ask for more. They are endless, remorseless need machines. Or at least they feel that way, for a long time. But that's just the deal. And if you're up for it, it's a perfectly acceptable deal. New parent here, baby is less than 6 months old. The worst part so far is all the unsolicited advice. Apparently everything you know is wrong, and the only reliable source is trust me, I raised kids 30/60 years ago, this is how it should be done. TW, child loss. Having to pay the hospital bill after they have passed and are no longer with you. Always wondering what their little or big personality would have been like. Everyone else forgetting they ever existed even though you're still here. When you have a child who has severe difficulties, whether physical or mental. In our case, My daughter has a severe mental illness. Everyone gets pregnant and thinks everything is going to be wonderful and the kid is automatically going to grow up and get good grades and have friends and do normal kid things. That's what you think and that's what everyone tells you. It's a cruel thing to realize that in reality, generics is a lottery and some of us will lose.